I'm not paying for that. Verified means verified, not paid.
Hello and welcome to Outside the Fox, where we explore what's happening online and why it matters. My name is AJ Patel.
I'm Kim Horcher, and we have a very interesting topic today, and I think it's extremely pertinent to what we're doing in the world. We're talking about decentralized social media.
This is the first time I'm hearing about this.
I don't think it is because so many people are migrating to decentralized social media away from traditional, including me.
What are some examples of platforms that I may have heard of?
Well, I'm on Blue Sky.
Okay, yes.
There is Mastodon. I'm not on Mastodon right now, but
okay.
I'm hoping our guest today can elucidate some of these topics a little bit better for us.
Today we have Takeyoshi Hoshida. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So I'm an indie developer based in Japan. On the internet, I go with the username MSA Pro. I started computer engineering at Carnegie Mellon University, and I worked at Apple special project team in 2019 and 2020 in Cupertino. So I have indie developed 55 apps on the App Store. The recent ones include Sora SNS, Sora SNS, which is a Fediverse client or a decentralized social media client for Mastodon, Misty, Blue Sky, Nostr, Plurama. Also, I make games. Like I have recently made an escape room game on the Apple Vision Pro. So the player will get trapped like in a phone booth and trying to escape. So you see, I never really limit myself to a single project. I like the feeling of, trying and failing, trying and failing. Maybe one time, get a little bit successful. I don't know. So I like trying new things,
How's your resume compared to that?
Well, I haven't made any apps or any games.
I pat myself on the back for taking a shower today. That is awesome.
I was curious about what does it mean to be decentralized as opposed to traditional social media, let's say, like Facebook, Instagram.
So it's sort of like the centralized media controls everything. So they controls your profile, they controls all your data, and it's kind of like they want to build a walled garden, to put all the users inside. So decentralized media kind of like splits that power. So last I checked, there is 26,000 servers on the network of decentralized social media. So there's a community for you, and then you can even self-host it. So when you make a post on your home server, what will happen is your home server will help you broadcast your post to other decentralized social media servers. So when we join all these decentralized servers together, right, the 26,000 servers together, they are called the Fediverse, right? So the federated universe, where each independent server with each of their own rules, own themes, own communities, they can federate posts, like comments to each other.
I'm interested about the different servers. Would I need to make my own server in some cases, or how would I choose a server to join?
I think because there are so many servers, what's great about this is, first of all, you can choose a server in a country that you trust or you live in. So for example, users in EU will be able to choose a server within EU. So it has the same data protection standards. And users will also be able to choose a server that they feel safe within. So for example, if someone is LGBTQ community, they can choose a server that's safe for LGBTQ. I think most of the users should be able to discover the community or the server they are interested in because there are so many. But if you don't, I mean, you are always open to host your own server. So I guess that's the benefit of the Fediverse or of the decentralized social media.
Have you had any luck on Blue Sky kind of navigating through a new decentralized platform?
I don't know if I've had a problem with decentralization, but I've had a rather large following on, or I don't mean to brag, a decent following on Twitter. And then I decided to not post it there anymore and move to Blue Sky. And it's been hard to rebuild that audience again. So that would be the main struggle, I would say.
So what would be one kind of pro to why you should move from maybe some more of the popular, more the mainstream ones that we've seen over the past 10 years to these new decentralized platforms that are becoming more and more popular?
The reason why I moved is I realized on centralized media, I saw a trend where people post content for the algorithm. They post for the revenue, right? So they're kind of no longer speaking for themselves. They post whatever will get the most traction. Whatever will put them in front of the timelines. Also, like centralized media, they prioritizes posts using different algorithms. And what's bad about this is it's usually a black box, right? So you don't know actually how they rank. It's hard to understand how they rank different posts. And that way some voices can get lost. So if someone posts not according to how that algorithm works, their post could never be seen. And some posts will even get shadow banned. Like they don't even know their post won't be displayed to others. So that basically is the reason why I started to develop my indie Fediverse app, Sora SNS, which actually runs a local machine learning algorithm on your device to provide a similar experience to a decentralized media.
I'm curious if there are any extra steps someone who would want to make the switch from traditional social media to decentralized would have to take to get started.
So, a lot of people are using the Fediverse right now, as I see it, as a backup. Like I saw a lot of famous artists here. They put their Blue Sky handle alongside with a Twitter profile, and kind of they put it here. And I think the reason is because the majority of users are still on the centralized platforms. Like if you go to a shop outside, right, you saw this contact masses, and there's a Facebook, there's a Twitter. I never saw a shop posting a Blue Sky handle, like follow me. I saw that on Blue Sky. So I think more people should jump on the Fediverse. I think it's more like a positive feedback loop. Like as there are more people jumping in, there are more people who use it as a main method. So that makes it easier for people to do the switch.
I've started using Threads. Is that considered decentralized?
I think what's interesting about Threads is they recently allowed users to follow people on the Fediverse within the Thread app. So for example, if I'm on Mastodon.social, Thread user will be able to follow me from the Thread app. So I think this is actually a very good move, from this big company like Facebook. So I would say many new users are introduced to the Fediverse because of Thread. Because customers are already familiar with Facebook, right? But they might not be familiar with the Fediverse. But when Threads opens up Federation, it actually brings more people, into the Fediverse. So I think it's actually a very interesting platform.
So does Fediverse just mean that they can communicate with each other? Or they're built on similar software?
So these kind of servers can easily communicate with each other because they run the same protocol, right? Just like email, they speak the same language. So Blue Sky runs a different protocol than Mastodon. It runs a protocol called AT protocol. But what's good about this is because they are both on the Fediverse, there are actually bridges. Think of physical bridges. So they connect between different protocols. So essentially speaking, yes. So all the servers like Blue Sky, Mastodon, Misskey, they can communicate with each other easily. So if you're on the Fediverse, you can find anyone else on the Fediverse.
I would love to, but is there any risks associated with so many servers being connected by these bridges?
Most of the Fediverse servers, right, they are running by small group of people, right, or community. So you volunteers, So if you just have a single server, right, imagine it's just your own server. It's very easy to moderate because the people who are joining the server, right? It's just a local server. But because it's a Fediverse, the issue is that it also federates content from other servers, right? So it's sort of like you get, I self-host my own Mastodon, and I get like tens of thousands of posts every day. So it's the problem really goes into moderation for these federated posts.
You've mentioned it a couple of times, moderation, right? Something that's very, very big, and honestly it gets a lot of hate on the centralized social media platforms. How can someone feel safe? How can someone feel, like I know you said you can join these communities, but if I join it, will I know that the content in there is, let's say, factual, or I'm not getting led on to some spam?
So on centralized platform, there's usually a large team of people, checking
Right.
all the contents. But what's bad is the owner of the platform really decides what content goes through and what content doesn't. It's up to the owner. So whoever bought the company, it's for sale.
Right.
So I guess the benefit of the Fediverse is you can go into each server in the server list, and then you can check which rule they have. So they will list their rules like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
So some server. So that way you can find a server that you feel that has the content you are looking for.
How do these decentralized platforms stay afloat? How do they generate some type of revenue to kind of keep the infrastructure that it has and only further upon it?
Right now, I think most of the instances do rely on funding. So I think that is still a question that's awaiting an answer. Because to register an account, basically everyone can sign up for an account on this Fediverse, right? It doesn't require payment. And developers, right, for who are making third-party applications, they don't need to pay a fee to call their APIs. They can just call it as much as they want. So I don't have an answer right now. But I think it's a question, how could these instance owners make money?
That is an interesting question going forward. Just how do you make these sustainable? I mean, speaking to, let's say, the glory days of Twitter, there weren't so many blatant advertisements everywhere and different ways to try and monetize it that some, including myself, don't really like.
Yeah.
So is there a danger going forward in trying to make this profitable that they fall by the wayside in similar ways?
So for example, for my Sora SNS app, right? So initial version in the timeline, I did a similar thing to Twitter. I added Google advertisements. I didn't even want to do it, I just feel like that was the wrong move. And then suddenly, like a lot of users were just complaining online, like in the reviews saying, hey, I went to the Fediverse so that I do not see ads, but I go to your app and there are ads in the timeline. So I immediately removed it.
Have you ever paid for a social media post?
Hell no.
Really?
Listen, I used to have a blue check when it meant something.
Dang.
Okay? I'm not paying for that. I'm not paying for that.
I have.
Verified means verified, not paid.
I used to pay for Instagram posts, and then people used to just comment like, why the hell is this on my timeline? But,
Well, I mean, on that note, I was wondering, there was great potential for virality in traditional social media. Is that changed or impeded a bit by decentralized social media?
So Twitter used to be like a public, sort of like a public service, right? Or where it's a trustable source of information. Until one point it's turned into more like a company where it has its own goals, right? So yeah, I think it does change. Like a lot of people are moving to Blue Sky, Mastodon. So yeah, I think it is changing the landscape of the internet. And I do hope in the future, like more people are going to join the Fediverse. And I think that's what is going to happen. So.
Is there anything that you're working on that we should keep an eye out for?
So I'm actually adding Nostr support next week. So Nostr is also a very important part, of the Fediverse. And also I'm going to add an AI-powered moderation tool. So hopefully that will make it easier for instance owners when they use Sora SNS. They can easily just, it will mark all these potential spam posts and they can just delete them, just one click, right? I'm also doing a thing in favor of Mozilla. I'm building a modern Bugzilla iOS client. So Bugzilla is one of the ticket tracking tools, like a bug tracking tool provided by Mozilla. It's open source, of course, and I'm making a beautiful iOS client for that. So hopefully, people can enjoy using it more. And yeah, besides that, I also have 2 other apps in progress. Oh, I'm sort of like a marketing developer.
You never slow down.
You need to pick it up.
Never slow down.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Takeyoshi. You do so much and you're so knowledgeable, and I'm so happy you were here to tell us all about this.
Yeah, thanks one more time, Takeyoshi.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kim and AJ.
And speaking of Fediverse, we are on a number of Fediverse social apps. Please check the description for those links.
Please comment below if you are on any of these decentralized platforms. Subscribe to the channel and be sure to download Firefox because it's the best. We'll see you next time.